Let's start off this video with something positive. I think they did a great job with Dying Light the Beast. It plays very well on PC. I've been playing it on a gaming laptop, and I have zero complaints. It feels like the true sequel to Dying Light, and to be fair, in some ways Borderlands 4 feels that way. But there's a big difference between studios in terms of execution. And a lot of these games that are coming out with piss poor performance, many of which are very soulless, lack identity, incredibly generic feeling, almost feels like it was made by AI, missing human touch. And that's because a lot of these people that make these games lost their humanity. I don't think it's a coincidence that a lot of these day one train wrecks that aren't very fun to play are being made by studios that are neck deep in woke culture. And so that's what we're here to touch on today. It's hard to talk about AAA games without making a reference to it because they are so entrenched and dug into this industry. Gaming has always been predominantly left-leaning, but before this woke shit, we actually got along with each other, and these developers made some of the best games because of it, when the industry still had diversity of thought. So for people following along this Ghost of Yotei story, the woman that was celebrating Charlie Kirk's death, well, she actually got fired, which has spawned a very small boycott from like-minded, evil individuals. They're pissed off that they fired her, and now they're not going to buy the game. So developers, I hope you're taking notes. These folks are never satisfied. They get off on control. They live for pushing other people's buttons and manipulating you into what they want you to do. I mean, eventually you're going to have to draw some boundaries, because that's just going to be an endless nightmare where these people just keep one-upping themselves in terms of how more extreme they're getting. And the second you do try to set some boundaries, they're going to bite. So stop letting people who are clearly just using you have so much influence over the game you're making, and let the customers, the people that are actually playing your games, buying them year after year, let them guide the way. So this is what Sucker Punch had to say about the firing. Their co-founder said, "I think we're aligned as a studio that making light of someone's murder or celebrating it is a deal breaker." And then he goes on to say that they condemn it. Now we can go back and forth until we're blue in the face on whether or not he's being genuine. I'll just say that it seems like they waited until their backs were up against the wall before doing anything. Even this statement, it was made through a private interview. We all know what time it is at Sucker Punch. That studio is overrun. People cut from the same cloth as the person that got fired. They were trying to wait it out, hoping people would just move on to something else, but they didn't. And it just kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger until the point where they had to address it. These people have gotten so accustomed to being the ones that dole out the consequences. They aren't used to being on the receiving end. The thing is, with the lady that got fired, you could make a case that, yeah, she got caught up in the emotions, error in judgment, just a bad moment. I mean, we all know now that's bullshit based on her reaction. She doubled down, not apologetic in the slightest. But you could make the case that Sucker Punch wasn't aware. Again, I know that's bullshit. I'm just playing devil's advocate. This voice actress, on the other hand, has a history of being toxic, antagonistic, and from the looks of it, a self-admitted terrorist. And so you have to ask yourself, what kind of company would be comfortable hiring somebody that is proud to be Antifa? Well, I'm glad you asked. The answer is somebody that is strongly sympathetic and supportive of the same ideology. I mean, it's just common sense. I'm sure plenty of Democrats that put their business first would never hire somebody like that. So in my view, you have to be pretty radical yourself to hire somebody like that. A person that has gone on record saying shit like the police should be abolished at a time where tensions were at their very highest in terms of law enforcement and the public. And sure, guys, the aftermath of all this probably isn't going to amount to much in terms of sales, but even if they only sell, say, 200K less copies, that's still a lot of money to just leave on the table for a voice actor. Someone that is easily replaceable. Somebody that's not going to bring negative attention to your brand. I personally believe that censorship is not the way because it makes it harder to know who's who. I'd rather know who dislikes me so I can stay the fuck away from them. But this isn't censorship. If she was just sitting on her couch posting stuff and the police came in and made her remove it, like they're actually doing in the UK, that's censorship. Getting fired because you said some dumb shit that made the company you work for catch a lot of heat, that's called consequence. If you're in the army and your wife says some dumb shit, they can hold you responsible. See, here's the thing. They have gotten really comfortable using video games to push their hatred and divisiveness. It's a plague on this industry that only continues to grow larger, because that's what happens when you just look the other way or have this mentality, oh, I'm just gonna block it all out and enjoy the video game. Don't complain when you can't possibly block it out anymore, because it has seeped into every single thing you enjoy. They are super dedicated at tearing down everything, because those things aren't built upon their reality. They want to rebuild everything based upon their fantasy world. And they try to force us to play along, because if we don't, here come the labels: racist, homophobe, misogynist, sexist, Nazi, fascist. So a lot of us just play along because we don't want to deal with that shit, while others try to be decent human beings, compassionate and understanding to their needs and desires. But for the love of God, take a hard look at where that's got us. Be my guest. Keep blocking it out. I can't anymore. God knows I tried. Ghost of Yotei, for example. Out of sight, out of mind. If people didn't see what she had to say, more power to you. I wish I hadn't. For people that don't use social media ever, are able to live under a rock, I envy you. But unfortunately for me and many other people, we did see what they had to say. And it was really fucking shitty. They made a super negative impression on us. And so how do you play a video game where you're going to be constantly reminded because it's the lady's face?